Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is directed by Wes Ball and written by Josh Friedman. Set roughly 300 years after the previous trilogy, apes are now the dominant species on Earth and live harmoniously while humans are reduced to living in the shadows. As a new tyrannical ape leader builds his empire, a young chimpanzee embarks on a journey alongside a human woman to determine the future for apes and humans alike. This review will be spoiler-free, but of course will contain spoilers for the previous 3 films. For context, I have not yet seen the original 6 Planet of the Apes films, and do not consider myself a massive fan of the franchise, so I went into this fairly blank and lacking in any real expectations. I actually didn't really like Rise, but I thought Dawn was great, and War was a great follow-up to that. Whilst I don't think Kingdom is as good as Dawn or War, it is certainly better than Rise in my eyes. I did have an invested interest in this film because Maze Runner director Wes Ball was helming it, and he will be directing the upcoming Legend of Zelda movie. Therefore, I really wanted to see how he would tackle an epic scale film like this, as I'm really interested in the Zelda film. Whilst this film really lacks the kind of dynamic visuals of the Matt Reeves Apes films, it is quite competently shot. It is a good looking movie. The CGI and performance capture for the apes is absolutely amazing, we all know that at this point. Josh Friedman writes the film. He actually hasn't written very many films, but he is responsible for co-writing one of my favourite films of all time, Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds from 2005. When it comes to the world building and the legacy of Caesar's reign, Friedman takes this story in a perfect direction. It is both satisfying and organic. Caesar is treated as a sort of Christ-like figure, and it was very interesting to see how his teachings have been interpreted positively and negatively by different tribes, just as religions and martyrs are treated in our real world. I believe Caesar would not want to be worshipped regardless of whether it is for good or bad, which is another point that I found very interesting. I do think one of the elements that lets the film down is the characters. It is nice to focus on an ape that is almost the inverse of Caesar as a hero. Noah is more of a timid and reluctant hero, but I still just didn't find him all that interesting. Proximus Caesar was a really cool villain though. It's mainly the human characters that leave a lot to be desired, and the human characters in the prior 3 films were quite strong. It is really when it comes to the third act that the May character makes choices that seem to conflict with the message the film is trying to convey about the goal of human and ape harmony. There is potential for her character in future films, but I found her to be unlikable. That has nothing to do with the actress, that's purely from a writing standpoint. At 145 minutes, the film isn't short, but I was glad that the film was paced slowly, such as the previous 3 were. It respects the attention span of its audience, and never feels like it sacrifices its own integrity in an attempt to please the audience, and it doesn't betray the tone of the previous 3 films. It is clear that Disney respects the property, and you can't say that for all the IP that Disney owns. The budget was lower than the previous couple of films, at $160 million, but not at the expense of quality, which I'm happy to say. While it lacks the striking visuals and strong characters of the reboot trilogy that precedes it, it has good action sequences and feels like a logical follow-up to the reboot trilogy, only enhancing it as far as I'm concerned. I do wish that they had given the film a stronger marketing push, as even though it has done well at the box office, it could have done better, and I'm very lasered in on the box office at the moment because I'm a big champion of the cinema going experience, and I'm really just hoping that all these big films that Hollywood's bringing out hit, and there's been a lot of them that haven't been hitting lately, even though a lot of them have been pretty good. I am sold on seeing a follow-up to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I would recommend it to fans of the Caesar trilogy.